I said to Pips once, I'm madly, crazily in love with you. I love you so, so much. And she said, and I put up with you.
It was a joke.
My name is Nicky Gumbel.
I'm Pippa Gumbel.
And we are involved in Alpha all around the world.
And you are a pastor. We've been running a church for some years, which we've just handed
We were involved in HTB for 46 years, from 1976 to 2022. We also do something called the Bible with Nicky and Pippa Gumbel, which we've done every day for the last 14 years. We have been married for 46 years.
We met because it was before
either of us were Christians.
Yep. And I wanted to get to a nightclub. I had a friend staying, and we wanted to get into this nightclub we always went to at the top of the King's Road.
Called Francoise.
It was pretty grotty, and you had to be a member. So I wanted someone to get me in.
£5 to be a member.
And I wanted someone to get me in. And so they gave me Nicky's number. I rang him up. You've got a party going on.
I went there every night.
Yep.
Well, I was 17. And that's where I ended up every night. Whatever we'd been doing earlier on, we'd always go to the nightclub straight afterwards, and that's where we'd all meet up and have fun,
loads
party.
Of teenagers. It was hilarious. Anyway, so I just rang him up. That's how we met.
And then I got you into the nightclub.
You did. Thank you. And we became friends.
Yeah.
We're so blessed because we had that friendship. Then
I used to give her advice about her boyfriends.
And then you became a Christian, became very zealous and terrifying. And that put me off becoming a Christian. And I thought you'd gone a little bit crazy.
I saw her. So when I first became a Christian, I knew that because I'd been an atheist up till then for the first 18 years of my life. Well, I was an argumentative atheist and didn't have a Christian upbringing like that. And so I was determined to tell everybody I knew about Jesus, because I thought the most loving thing that you could do is tell people about Jesus. I still think it's the most loving thing that you can do, but you have to do it sensitively, and I didn't do it sensitively to begin with. And so when I next saw Pips after I'd become a Christian...
Nicky came up to me and told me that I looked awful and needed Jesus, which wasn't the best way of starting.
On the dance floor, I said that to her.
Yes, I think you did. So I thought he was gone a bit crazy, and I decided to keep far away from him.
I put her off for a long time.
But
you did finally become a Christian through somebody totally different.
Yeah, I've met a whole group of young Christians who'd come to London, who'd recently become Christians, very excited about their faith, and we're all hanging out in this place called the Kitchen. It was a sort of it was like a restaurant, it was actually a converted garage that you could go and hang out in. And I started going along not knowing they were even Christians, and somebody there told me about Jesus and about this amazing relationship you could have with him. And so there I gave my life to Christ at that place, and then we re-met up from that.
Yeah. And then there was an event at the university that I was at, a party, and Pips had been invited by someone else. And I was a very keen Christian. I only invited my sister and my parents to the party. But I ended up with Pips, and we ended up dancing all night, playing tennis in the morning. And I fell crazily in love and haven't really faltered from that in the last... That would have been that would have been 2 years before we got married, 48 years ago.
You're very good on numbers, Nicky, indeed.
Got to be good at something. How did I know that Pips was the one? That's a very interesting question, because we were friends before we were lovers, and we were friends for several years, really, weren't we?
Yes, I think it was a gradual realisation that I wanted to spend the rest of my life with Nicky. We'd become Christians at a similar time. We were excited about what was going on in the church, we were involved with all those things. And together we were going to lots of prayer meetings, getting involved with the church and just spending time together. And then we realised we had the same vision really for our lives. And as a result of that, I think we felt that it would be right to do it together, spend the rest of our lives doing the same thing together, having the same vision. And it just sort of gradually grew into that.
Yeah. Was there anything you were hesitant about before we got married, Pips?
I think we were quite young, and I don't know whether that's a good or a bad thing. Possibly a little bit naive about sort of thinking things through. I didn't spend hours thinking, is Nicky the right person to marry?
Right thing.
Right person to marry. I think Nicky asked me, sort of out of the blue, and I just thought, oh, that's a good idea, without really thinking it through. I wouldn't recommend it to anybody else, but it just sort of seemed a fun thing to do.
I didn't actually think about asking her to marry me till the day I asked her. I was just like, I went for a walk, thought, oh, maybe when I come back I'll ask her to marry me. So that's what we did. I said, the conversation went like this. I wasn't sure that she would accept. So I didn't want to be too rejected. So I said to her, would you ever like to get married? Because I thought that was a fairly safe question to ask. So she said, yes. So then I said, who would you most like to marry? To which she answered, Prince Charles.
It's true, I did say that. But it was such a silly question.
So then I said, well, would you marry me? And thankfully she said yes. But it wasn't a very great way to do a proposal. I mean, I didn't have anything planned. I didn't get down on one knee. I didn't have anything planned.
You hadn't got a ring.
I hadn't got a ring. We got home and told my parents that we got engaged, and my mother got out an old jewellery box and looked through it and tried to find an engagement ring.
That is true.
She said, what did she say?
She went through, this one any good? No, missing a stone. This one any good? Oh, a bit broken. Oh, this one, wouldn't that one do? And that was literally
and that was the one we had, and it broke, and we took it to the jewellers, and they said, I'm sorry, it's just not worth repairing. It's not worth anything. So that was the engagement ring. Was there ever a moment when we felt like we were walking away from each other? Oh, definitely during the engagement. Not during the engagement, during the what do you call it? The bit before the engagement. The
before you asked me to marry you.
Well, yeah, when we were sort of going out, or at least I thought we were going out. But one time I went round to see her, and this guy turned up with 30 red roses.
You do exaggerate.
And took her off to some ball, and I was left cleaning the cupboards. Then I definitely thought you were walking away from me.
I think you exaggerate, and I've put up with your stories all these years. One of the things that Sandy Miller, who was our boss, the vicar of Holy Trinity Brompton, and who we worked with, said at our wedding was...
in our marriage preparation. Oh, no, go on, say it in the wedding.
It's our wedding service.
Oh, yeah, go on, so sorry.
You're ruining my story.
No, I'm so sorry, you go.
He said, the world will strike at your unity, but you must fight the world. And I've always found that helpful when, even if you're sort of irritated or cross or things that are disappointing or whatever it is, to try and think it's not Nicky, it's the world, it's the devil, life is tricky, is hard. And therefore to realise it's those things that are striking at your unity, and not to try and fight each other in those moments, but try and see that it's actually the things are around, and to try and sort of get together to deal with the issues around you.
I think the most challenging things in our marriage have been bereavement and sickness. The two things that are the biggest challenge to our lives, really, isn't it? I think the hardest things for me have been the loss of, I guess, my parents when I was quite young, but then also my closest friend, one of my very closest friends, dying on the squash court with me at age 42, leaving 6 children. And that was a huge challenge to my faith and to everything, really. And I think a huge challenge also has been the times when we've had sickness, and
Well, I've had a bit of lung cancer. Nicky's had an aorta. Life is
aorta. I think everyone has an aorta. I had an aortic
enlarged.
aneurysm.
Aneurysm, that's the word. I mean, it's just hard in life, but actually, I think you got me through those things, having operations, recovery, all these things are really hard. And
you were in hospital for 12 nights, weren't you, with your lung cancer? And I had one night at home.
And I was 2 nights in intensive care.
2 nights in intensive care, but then I decided to sleep on 2 chairs in the hospital next to your bed, because I decided I'd much rather be uncomfortable with her than comfortable without her.
You were very, very supportive.
No, I was so miserable at home, and perfectly happy sleeping on 2 plastic chairs.
But yeah, so blessed to have someone supporting you through the difficult times in life.
When Mick, my good friend, died on the squash court with me at age 42, I just could not understand why God would allow this amazing man to die of a heart attack at that age, leaving 6 children. And I remember I couldn't sleep that night, of course, and 5 o'clock in the morning I went for a long walk. I just said to the Lord, I have no idea why this has happened, but I'm not going to stop trusting you. And that was just a decision. I didn't feel particularly close to the Lord at that time. In fact, when C.S. Lewis talks about a door slammed in the face, that's more how I felt. I felt a sort of almost an absence of God at that time. But I just decided I would keep on believing in spite of what had happened, and in spite of the fact that I didn't feel anything except guilt about what had happened, and responsibility for the fact that I was playing squash with him, which was in many ways irrational, but I still felt it. And so that was a really tough couple of years after that, I think.
I mean, there are a lot of challenges. I think having small children is quite a big challenge too. Sleepless nights, exhaustion, all that. Those are hard times too. And you were probably very busy some of those times. Life has lots of ups and downs, and I think one's just got to go with the ups and downs in it.
Yeah. We've been very blessed with our children, because our children, first of all, I would say they are my chief advisors, our chief advisors.
They are now.
They are now. They weren't necessarily when they were babies, but they were.
We had children quite early on, and so we were straight into parenthood quite early on, which I don't know whether that's a good or a bad thing, but it's fairly full on. And it is, sleepless nights, hard work. I had my grandson here this morning, helping out for the morning. I was just by the end of the morning thinking, oh my goodness, but every room was slightly destroyed. And you're exhausted, and you forget, looking back, how hard it is to bring up children and to do it well, but how important it is, and how important it is to support one another in those things. So they have a huge impact, but I feel nothing but blessed to have had children. I'm sure there were times or nights when all you want is sleep, and sometimes you do feel you need a break and someone, to go out and do something on your own for 10 minutes, half an hour. But now as they grow up, they are so wise. We've apologised to them many times over many things.
I have apologised. You were a brilliant mother, but I did make lots of mistakes with our children.
Did. We both made mistakes.
Well, I don't know that you did, darling, but I certainly did.
Plenty of regrets of things that, looking back, I wouldn't do now with wisdom and hindsight. but they've been kind enough, I hope, to forgive us. And hopefully we won't make that mistake with our grandchildren.
We have 10 grandchildren now, and
which is nothing but a blessing.
Yeah,
It's nothing
blessing
but a
upon
blessing.
blessing.
There are lots of things I'd do different. I mean, if I could change one thing in our marriage, what would it be? Probably there are lots of things. Probably.
Oh, go on.
Well, no, but, quite a lot with the children of of choices I made with them, what I should have done or shouldn't do.
What do you want me to do differently?
I don't know, Nicky. Not put your wet swimming things all over the
Aga.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I would. Yeah. So I swim in the Serpentine
And
every
take your
morning.
shoes off and not walk with dirty shoes around the house. But anyway.
I swim in the Serpentine every morning, and when I come back, I have. So at this time of year, when the temperature is 5 degrees in the Serpentine, I wear like socks, gloves, 2 hats,
And then you drape it all around the house.
as well as my swimming trunks and a towel. And then when I come back, it's difficult to find places to put it that are warm and they're going to be dry the next day. So
You come and irritate me.
That's always a bone of contention as to where they're to go.
But yeah, but somehow we still laugh about it. Which,
Every day when it happens.
every day, nothing changes. But there are lots of things daily, wouldn't it? You snap when you don't need to snap. There must be lots of things that you
never
do.
snapped?
Yeah, I have snapped. No, I'm sometimes grumpy.
So.
I'm very grumpy sometimes. But
I've seen her get cross once with someone, not me, but someone.
yeah, but of course there are
1987 that was.
things. Plenty of things. Actually, you are quite patient with me because my timing isn't very good, and I am quite often late. And I managed to recycle Nicky's squash rackets, and you took that very well. But brand
You say
new.
recycled them. You
Threw them
threw them away.
So there are things that do happen,
That was
and
just
you take those quite well.
I don't think you need gender stereotype roles in a marriage. Do you? It's like, what do you think?
I don't think you need as such that, but you tend to end up doing the things that you feel most relaxed doing. I mean, I happen to do more of the cooking than you do. You could do it, but I don't trust you to.
It's a lot safer if you're doing it. I think I would offer to do it, but yeah.
So I think some of those things, I probably look to Nicky to carry the suitcases. He is stronger than me and they're heavy and things like that. And you often put out the dustbins, but I wouldn't sort of say that's his role and this is my role. I do think we should do a lot of things together. And I don't expect in someone else's marriage to be the same. I think it will be different. So I think everybody's got to work out what you like doing. And as long as you're sharing things and both carrying the burdens together, I don't think it matters.
What's the most important thing we've learned about love in marriage?
Well, it's not bad looking at 1 Corinthians 13. Start with love is patient. And
Pip's is very, very patient. I'm not at all patient.
But all those things are terribly important. Love is patient, love is kind. Or, all those things are very, very important in marriage. Kindness, goodness, faithful, all those things you need in a marriage. You need it in every relationship, but you need it in a marriage to be those things, to be kind, to be patient, because things go wrong and things can be irritating. I probably get more irritated with you than you do with me.
There's a lot more about me to be irritating than there is about Pip's. I always think that if Pip's would have made anyone happy, she would have done. You would have done, Pip. You would have been. No one could have been unhappy if they'd been married to you. I just got lucky and got married to you. I think love is more than a feeling. I do feel huge love for Pip's pretty much all the time. So I don't want to play down the feeling, but love is about much more than a feeling. Love is about, as Pips has said, love is patient and kind, and it's about how you treat one another.
Yeah.
And that is love in action. And that is probably more important than the feelings. So I'm blessed to have the feelings. I know not everybody has those kind of feelings, but I definitely, I do. And that's a huge blessing. But I have to be aware that love is not just about the feelings. It's about serving and doing things and acts of kindness as well as feelings of love.
You need the love of God in your heart to love others, and I think that's even in a marriage you want, because God's love is so amazing, and God's love is unconditional. It's not counting up all the things that irritate you or go wrong. So I think it's that unconditional love that we need, the love of God to love, and that is. If you need to sense God's love, I need to sense God's love to love and to be loved and to be loving. I think, whatever that is.
I mean, we love because he first loved us. And again, it was an act of love. St. Paul wrote, the Son of God loved me and gave himself for me. Jesus didn't just feel love, he did something. He died for each one of us on a cross. That's how much God loves me and you. And so it was an action. But then the Holy Spirit gives us an experience of God's love. We feel God's love. The love of God is poured into our hearts by the Holy Spirit who has been given to us, Romans 5, verse 5. So love is primarily about how we treat one another, but also if our love is to be like God's love, we feel love. And that comes from the Holy Spirit. So we need both to understand the cross and to experience the Holy Spirit to know God's love. And out of that comes our love for one another and for everybody else in the world.
I found it very helpful when I first heard about the 5 love languages. It just clarified things for myself, to understand myself and to understand Nicky, and perhaps even to understand our children a bit.
And to understand how different we are. Pippa's love language, I would say number 1 is acts of service, which she doesn't get many of. Presents, which she gets even less of. And then thirdly, probably words of encouragement, which she gets loads of.
That's true. I like them all. Nicky's love languages are touch, encouragement, and definitely not presents.
Yeah, presents is not even, it's like the opposite of a love language. Please don't waste anything on anyone giving me presents. After 46 years of marriage, what does intimacy look like, Pips?
I think we're so blessed that we love each other, really, aren't we? We are so blessed. I sort of feel, and actually you learn more and more about each other, and there's still things to learn and to become more open and more accepting and more real, I think, don't you think?
I've certainly got lots to improve on. There's no doubt about that.
We've got a few years left.
Hopefully. I can get better. I honestly don't think it's possible for you to get better, Pips.
No,
You are perfect, Pips. I feel very blessed because I didn't expect to be more in love with Pips now, 46 years on, than on our wedding day. But I feel that all the time. I feel so blessed to be just madly, crazily in love with her. I said to Pips once, I'm madly, crazily in love with you. I love you so much. And she said, and I put up with you.
It was a joke.
But there's quite a bit of truth in that. She has a lot more to put up with than I do.
Nonsense.
I have a very easy life.
I don't know that that's true. But I do think humour is really important because you've got to laugh at things. There are so many things that go wrong in life, and you can get irritated and all those things. But if you can turn it into a joke and have a laugh about things, I do think that relieves the tension and helps
Pips
you
makes
along.
me laugh all the time. I spend my whole time laughing. She was very funny. We did a conference at the weekend. What did she? Because they asked, we were being interviewed at this conference. There were 11,000 people there, 30,000 people watching online. And what did he ask you?
He asked something about, what you love most about each other. I mean, he threw it out, and I was sort of, how do you answer this? Nicky said something very sweet, and if I'd had more time, I would have said that Nicky was, generous and kind and wise and all those things. But I talked about his faith, following Jesus all his life and not wandering from the left or right. And then I said, and most of his jokes are funny.
That's the thing they like best.
So there we are. We've been married for 46 years. What has kept us married? I think, again, I'd go back to Sandy Miller in our preparation.
Yeah.
He's now Bishop Sandy Miller. He's the most wonderful,
Yeah.
wonderful man. He said, don't even joke about divorce when you get married. Don't even joke about it. And those some of the things, because it's so easy to say, oh, you're irritating, I'll divorce, ha ha. But actually, even those things are dangerous.
In other words, don't let the thought even cross your mind.
Yeah. And even people like Rick Warren sort of said he had a terrible first 3 years, but they had decided they were married and they were going to work it through. And but we were very blessed. We had wonderful role models around us. Nicky and Cilla Lee, who have written the marriage book and run the marriage course.
Which also is a thing that's helped us, I think. I mean, not only watching their marriage, but the marriage course itself, which we've done a couple of times now.
Yes.
Once in lockdown. And it's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. And improving your marriage. However good your marriage is, the marriage course is a way you can enrich it.
Yes, yes.
And have great conversations about all sorts of important subjects.
So we had them, Nicky and Cilla, who are the experts, I'd say, on marriage and family life, as our best friends. So that was a real help. Sandy and Annette, who are our church leaders, and we worked with them for many, many years, had a wonderful role model, believed strongly in family, and we were so blessed to work with them. So I think the importance of having strong marriages, strong families around you, good role models, make a phenomenal difference. That verse, 2 is better than 1, but a threefold cord cannot easily be broken. And I do feel our faith is right at the centre of our marriage, and it needs to be. We're sinners, we're failures. I remember when we first got married, you saying, remember that we're sinners. And I felt, I don't know whether I said, speak for yourself.
Quite
you
right.
might be a sinner, but what
now
about
I joke
me?
that Pips is, apart from Jesus, Pips is the only person born without original sin.
Obviously
we spoke at a
not.
Catholic conference, and I had to say, and of course, if you're Catholic, Mary also is without original sin. But
But actually, it is good to know. We are fallen, and our partner's not going to be perfect. We'd love our partners to be perfect, but they're not. And I think if Jesus can forgive and love our spouse unconditionally, then we've got to at least try to do the same.
I think for both of us, the verse John 10:10, when Jesus said, I came that you might have life and have life in all its fullness. I think that meant a lot to us, because neither of us were Christians when we first met. But I think that verse was a verse that has meant a lot to us, because we found in Jesus that Jesus came that we might have life and have it in all its fullness, and that Jesus makes difference to everything, including our marriage and our parenting and our grandparenting and all our relationships, and brings life and life in all its fullness.
Yeah. And another sort of more family verse is about, as for me and my household, we will serve the Lord. And I always sort of, that's our family, we will serve the Lord.
Our marriage is far, far better than anything I could have dreamt or imagined.
Yes, I don't think I had any thoughts really about what married life would look like. It just seemed an exciting time, and very exciting to get married. I had no concept of the future, and I think I can only think that God has been good to us. The goodness of God. I love that song, The Goodness of God, and I think that sort of sums up really.
Yeah. The word that I would use to describe our marriage is blessed. I feel very blessed to have married Pips.
Yeah, I feel very blessed too. I think we've had a lot of fun over all the years, a lot of fun.
A lot of laughs.